I want to share with you, all that I'm sharing is not from me and Nancy or other missionaries. This comes from a philosophy shift from the board of directors to the executive leadership at headquarters to those who are writing the material as you have seen it, especially within TNT. How flexible and adaptable, I may go 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'll be happy to send you the PowerPoint if you want to take notes. It used to be, Awana came to you in a box. This is how you do it. We know what's best. We got proven methods. And rightly so, that worked for years. Then we had a board member share back in January of 2014 the why, what, and how of Awana and its ministry. The why is about reaching boys and girls. The what is the 6 principles of DNA. But the how, those methods will always change. His main emphasis was this, and I'm condensing this. He said, always go back to the why of why you do everything. If it's not reaching boys and girls with the gospel of Christ, you need to evaluate it to make sure that's your motive. Not getting through a handbook just to get through a handbook, but are we drilling deeper so they can come to know, love, and serve the Lord? Now, once again, I'll send you the PowerPoint, the video clips. So this board member shared this video was put together, and we're going to show this one, okay, Jamie? Maybe not the other ones. I want you to answer this question. What are some key statements in this video? Okay, fire it up.
The year is 1941. The location, a burned-out, abandoned furniture store on the north side of Chicago. 2 pastors see a need for their church to provide a fun, welcoming place for children to hear about the love of God. Together, Doc Latham and Art Rohrheim transform the floor of that furniture store into a boys and girls club, utilizing an innovative mix of athletic competition, teaching, and scripture memorization. Almost immediately, hundreds of children flock to the weekly clubs. Soon, other churches turned to Doc and Art to help create clubs in their churches. And what began as a modest attempt to help local churches grows globally, in only a few short decades, into one of the largest children's ministry organizations in the world. But as our organization's growth exploded, a significant problem emerged. For decades, we built Awana on one single model, the traditional Awana Club, which has worked well for thousands of churches. Yet we've also found that some churches can't afford this program or have difficulty using the club model in their particular context. So, what are we up to lately? We've begun to shift our approach. Instead of asking, how do we plant more clubs? We're now asking, how do we reach more children? And the answer to this question has changed the way we approach just about everything we do. Instead of just taking what we're doing in the U.S. and trying to make it work in other countries, we're now looking at what's working in churches across the globe and letting those churches lead us and each other in how to best reach children. This thinking led us to completely restructure our organization, combining our U.S. and international ministries divisions into a single, unified global ministries team. We're now focused and better equipped to serve the global church by providing a variety of ministry methods that can help any leader at any church reach children with the gospel. The results of Awana's reinvention have been nothing short of remarkable. Over the past 5 years, God has worked to double our impact from the previous 55 years, now reaching over 2 million children in 28,000 churches in over 100 countries across the globe. But we're just getting started. Our goal is to reach 10 million children and teens each and every week with the love of Christ by the year 2020. God is doing a new work at Awana, in churches and through our ministry partners around the world. One mission, many methods. With God's power and direction, together we'll see millions of children come to know the love of Christ. Will you join us?
So, what are some key statements in this video? It's not about starting more clubs, it's about reaching more kids. For those who've been around Awana a lot, this is a profound shift And how do we answer the second one? We're letting churches lead us. When the New Covenant program was rewritten about 5 or 6 years ago, they field tested it and asked for input from the churches because the churches are the ones working with the kids. When the TNT was written for last year, the year before, they had 100 churches pilot what they think would work and asking for feedback and made adjustments from the pilot to last year and from last year to this year. That's why the books this year are changed. But in this video, I'm just going to answer the questions. What are some of the wins? What are some of the wins that takes place in a club night? Verse recitation. This is a video that is part of the new basic training that they wrote to reflect this new approach. Clubbers feel like they belong. Isn't it easy that if I have a group of clubbers that are all about finishing a book, it's so easy to be so busy and be signing off, I could miss a clubber that needs to be ministered to. And we don't want to be about achievement at the expense of not ministering to our kids' needs. Where they are greeted with a smile. We call them by name, and we invite them into conversations about the Bible and about their faith. Relational ministry. That's why handbook time is not about just listening to all the verses. And I love being able, you guys bringing up the question from, is it Grace Baptist about Sparks? I love you bringing that in because now you can stick in that asking them about the Bible and about their faith and applying the truth. The Great Connection. It's about being highly scriptural and highly relational. I think you have a diagram on your handout. So we want to be able to provide tools that will help you to accomplish deeper discipleship. I'm speaking personally now. I think it's easy for the church over the last number of decades to allow the achievement culture of society to creep into the church where we measure ministry by what we can achieve rather than who we can become. Chuck Swindoll, when he was on staff out in this church in California, told a group of pastors at a Moody's Pastors Conference, he said, when we hire new staff, we don't ask them to come and do. We ask them to come and be. Because if they are who they should be, they will do just fine. And I think the achievement mentality of our culture, which is pretty prevalent, when it creeps into the church, we miss the opportunity of taking a person deeper in their faith, whether they're Sparks or TNT or young people or us as adults. So, in this video, it talks about Leader Gary. He deals with clubbers that are high achievers, and you want to keep fanning the flame of those who love to achieve. But you don't want to neglect the clubber that needs the encouragement. And folks, a lot of our kids who come to our club need encouragement because the safest place for them is in your club many times. So if I have my clubbers here and I have high achievers and Steady Eddie, and I have somebody that has I want my clubbers to be more concerned for the spiritual well-being of each other than for them finishing a book. You know what's going to happen? As they do that, they're going to finish that book because now their faith is going to be internalized. Because they're looking at each other of what can I do to be an encouragement to them, a spiritual big brother and sister, and I think especially in TNT, we've missed that peer mentoring potential in our clubs because we're just about racing to a book. Anyways, sound flexible. Now here's where we're getting down. This stuff may be written down. If it's not, Nancy has a page and a half of changes in the new TNT plus these statements written down. The number of weeks of club. This question is a common one that comes to headquarters. It's up to each church to adjust whatever works best for their particular club and the kids they have. It may even lead a church to skip sections. I think that's written down. Is that right? Okay, good. So here's the same schedule we showed. How about awards? Well, the basic training video talks about 3 types of award structures that a church could have. Traditional, patches, chevrons, shirts, Awana store, with Awana bucks, and they even mentioned one commander makes badges for their kids to wear on their backpacks and shirts. Isn't that a little revolutionary compared to us who've been around for decades? I mean, if you didn't have, I can get carried away. So here's the award system summary. This is up to whatever each club decides that they would like to do. We strongly encourage clubs to give out book completion awards to kids who have done a sufficient amount of work. For example, if a club decides to cut out some of the sections or lessons, then completing that book for all students in that church is still the same and fair. What I would suggest is if you cut out, like Nancy's doing at their club, they're cutting out the reviews because it would be too much busy work and take away from the ministry focus, then I would say when a clubber completes those sections, give them a book award, but say if you complete the reviews on your own, we'll give you a certificate of excellence. So you acknowledge the extra work, but the standard is still set for all the kids that go on. You know the section passing standards, 2 helps no matter what. If you can't get it into Psalm 23 in the Sparks book, our granddaughter was stuck on that for almost 2 months. Why? Because the leader didn't know she could give her more than 2 helps. That's 6 verses. It is, especially with kids who don't know how to memorize. So she eventually found out she had that flexibility, and our granddaughter finished it and was encouraged as she went through a book. You know, the standards can be adjusted with kids with special needs. Now, when I say special needs, or when Awana says special needs, it's not mental or learning impairment. It could be the fact you have a clubber who's never memorized before and has never been encouraged to, but the more they do it better. So you may want to give them 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 helps. And then as the weeks go along, they'll get to the point they'll be able to do it without a help at all. Why? Because you're teaching them how to do something they've never been encouraged. Yes?
I know you're time pressed, but that sets up at a table a scenario that this kid may be getting 5 or 6 helps, and that kid is only getting 2. And it's like, well, why can't you help me more? Because you helped him with 6. And that's really going to put an awful lot of stress on your kid.
I get that question a lot, and here's how I would handle it. So we have steady Eddies and a high achiever and trouble. So I know you're a perfect angel. And so I'll encourage you to do it word perfect. Maybe give you 2 helps, depending. And this one, if I give her 4 or 5 helps, and you come to me with some mystery step, that's not fair. What I would do is a time to teach. I would say, you know that Nancy has never ever come to church and probably doesn't own a Bible. And I know you would want her to be encouraged to keep coming back so she can learn more about Jesus and the love of Christ and more about the Bible. And I know that's what you want for her. So let me ask you this, with all the extra and as good as you are, why don't you be a spiritual big sister to her while I work with the other 2? Now, I've answered her question, but I told her the ministry reason why I'm doing it, and I've directed her energy to be a ministry to this couple. And where I've seen that play out, always works well. Let her know why you're doing what you're doing. Now, don't do it because she's lazy. Do it because it's a ministry need. But don't feel threatened when the clubber says, that's not fair. Answer the question. Tell her the ministry motive. Encourage her to maybe be an encouragement to this one while you're working with the other ones. I have seen that happen. Oh my goodness. Back to peer mentoring. When the kids are concerned for each other spiritually, don't we want that as kids so when they get to be adults and teenagers, they're still concerned about others? So that's how I would encourage my leaders to handle it. Verse recitation standards. I think this is also printed out for you. Since we make the curriculum to be usable in a variety of different club types, you saw the video, it is designed to be used in whatever way that works best for each individual club or even each individual clubber. We always encourage clubs to do what works best for them. If in your case, you need to, with the Sparky example of using one book, If a kindergarten is in the third book and the verse is too long, if in your case you need to shorten certain verses, please feel empowered to do so. Everything I'm sharing is what we've heard directly from headquarters. A shift in ministry focus, definitely. This year we have 15 churches starting in our area. We've never had 15 churches starting. Somebody says, you're doing a good job. We had nothing to do with it. We're barely able to keep up, but that's okay. My conclusion is, I think God is honoring this focus. It's about helping churches to do ministry, not helping them do a program. And I think Awana is a great program, but the program is the vehicle for which ministry can be done. It is not the ministry. See if there's anything else I'd add. Here's my favorite phrase. We must never, ever frustrate clubbers with the Word of God, but we must challenge them up to their capability. That changes the entire perspective of how I enter a club as a leader. Now, my clock says I have 1 minute left before our time is up, but I'm going to take a few extra. We've covered an awful lot. Please let me know what questions you have. We can answer for you now. Because once I leave, you'll have to call or email me. Or if you can do a Zoom meeting, you know what a Zoom meeting is? It's where you can face-to-face on a computer. We can Zoom you anytime at all. Because they taught me how to press the right keys. Any questions? I'm sorry. Oh, did I miss something? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let your club ministry goals and objectives drive your club and its structure. Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate that. That's what we want. That's what we always want. For example, if we do something in the church, are we doing it because it's nice to do, or because our ministry objectives are driving us that direction? And my favorite statement, let's always make sure we remember the why. Now I'm going to catch my breath and say, any questions I can answer for you at this time? I will be more than happy to walk through and talk through any help we can give, even if it means making another trip up, to help you folks with any questions you have. I know from firsthand experience, from what we've seen in our club, what I've seen in my own grandson and granddaughter, who were both in 6th grade last year, I have seen heard from other churches, the new approach in TNT of slowing down to drill down, and you would think, well, they're not going to finish a book. It's just the opposite. Because now the ministry is personalized to them. Sparky idea. Oh man, I'm all over that like a pit bull on a pork chop. I mean, can you imagine drilling down with Sparkies, taking a few minutes or handbook time? Oh my goodness, almost makes me want to be a Sparks leader. Just give me the transporter coordinates. Yes. Thank you. More extra credit in the new TNT books than in the old, so the high achievers can be challenged out in orbit. Now,